Hello. Welcome back to the Gay Racing Podcast. Zack and Alex are here with you today. Alex, I hope you're hungry because we're about to eat crow today. We thought we were not going to like the Bowman Gray Clash, and we liked it. We had fun. Sue us.
It wasn't
fun.
It wasn't really the Bowman Gray Crash either. Like, we actually had some racing. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. And it was just fun all around. Like, it was just a nice, fun little event. There were definitely some quirks.
Good
to
vibes.
The whole thing. And, you know, comparing it to the LA Clash, which we'll certainly get into today. But I have to say, though, yeah, I agree. I thought we had a pretty good weekend of racing at Bowman Gray, like actual racing. And it actually kind of pumped me up for the season. Something I didn't have before this weekend. Like, I just kind of didn't care about NASCAR coming back until after I watched last night's Clash at Bowman Gray. So yeah, I'm very excited to talk about it with you today. We're just talking about NASCAR at Bowman Gray. Nothing else really happened over the weekend, of course, with racing. We will be having an episode next week, Alex, covering all of the off-season tea and all that. So if you're wondering what our opinion is on hot topics like Mike Wallace not being in the Daytona 500, you will get our answers next week. I know you're dying to know.
I am writing that down because we will talk about that. That's a good one.
Oh my God. Anyway, so NASCAR at Bowman Gray Stadium for the Cookout Clash. And obviously, you know, I wanted to kind of talk about, because I've been thinking about this all weekend. Like, why do we really need a clash? Because it made sense when we were at Daytona, right, Alex? It was basically an advertisement or a hype up for the Daytona 500, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really work like that the same, because it's 2 weeks before Daytona. It's not at Daytona. It's just that time separation. I just think it doesn't really work the same. But I think after what we saw last night, does NASCAR need a preseason? No. I think practice sessions at Daytona can accomplish a lot of the stuff, like, just getting track time, like Chase Briscoe learning all these little switches in the JGR car, learning how to talk to your crew chief or your spotter or your new spotter or whatever. But I think putting it to the test in a race weekend where, you put all these guys in heat races, which I have a lot of compliments for, and you put them to the test and they have to race for their spot in the main event. Seeing all that and all these new guys in new places, new paint schemes, it just works.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you had those thoughts this weekend. I just think it really does work. And I don't remember if I had these thoughts when it was happening in LA, but this was just a fun weekend. Just a great, kind of welcome back to NASCAR.
I've always liked the Clash because it's kind of just a nice entry back into the season. It's not just like
a warm up.
It's not like you're going straight into the Daytona 500. I feel like that would be maybe a little overwhelming. It's supposed to be the biggest race of the season.
Yeah.
This is just kind of like, you're scooting back in, and it lets the teams, drivers, and crews ease back into it as well. And I feel like I still like this better than Daytona, like at the Clash at Daytona, just because we're not, wrecking as many cars, because that you're like destroying the cars. At least here, if you're going to crash, it's not going to like cost the entire car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're still doing the Clash. We'll talk more about what we think should be next for the Clash in a little bit. But like overall, like we said, much better than I would have thought. I thought this was going to be kind of a train wreck because that's kind of just what the reputation for Bowman Gray Stadium is wrecking. It's called the Madhouse. Everyone gets mad. I thought we were going to get a fight. We didn't get that, but like solid event. Like there was still like the LCQ, it got a little silly at times.
That definitely went over the limit for me, I think, in terms of just racing.
And even though it was a pretty clean event, by the way, Fox still went over their TV window by like, I think 20 minutes. So like imagine if we actually got what we expected, like this would have been way over the TV window.
Yeah, that would have not been good.
But yeah, I like the Clash, and I like it at Bowman Gray. I like the vibes. I liked it at LA too. We'll talk more about what the future is though later.
Yeah, and it wasn't boring, and I think again apart because of that heat race format, and they did it at LA, but for some reason this year I'm like, oh my god, this makes so much sense. Like just heat races, because we never really get to do actual heat races in NASCAR anyways, besides when we did Bristol Dirt, I guess, but that they weren't really heat races, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was just fun seeing guys like Kyle Larson having to fight for their spot, seeing guys like the Dillon brothers and their quest to get to the LCQ, Josh Berry, and we'll talk about the LCQ later, but it was just great action on 2 days. Right, Saturday night we had great racing, Sunday night we had great racing, all in just one big event. Like that worked really well, and it's definitely a format where I don't think it just has to be at these small stadiums, right? It could also be at, if they take it to a road course or go back to Daytona one day, whatever.
I don't know how well it would work elsewhere, a heat race kind of thing. I don't know.
I mean, just because, again, my main point is just they weren't just riding around.
Right. There was always urgency in those heats because you had to get into a spot to advance, or you had to go to the LCQ, and the LCQ had urgency, obviously, too, only 2 advance from it.
And it was very unique from, any other NASCAR race that we get in the season. So that's, I don't know. That's just the point I wanted to make. Great racing Saturday and Sunday night. Like very, very impressed with it. Very entertained.
Well, Chase Elliott ended up dominating and winning the Clash. It was his first Clash win, the 8th win for Hendrick Motorsports in the Clash. And Chase Elliott led 171 of the 200 laps. Chase Elliott, he kind of been quiet recently. 2 years ago now, he had that injury and then he got suspended. And then the year prior, that was the last time Napa had gone to victory lane. He won last year with Hooters, I believe it was.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious what this means for the full season, because a lot of drivers compared Bowman Gray Stadium to Martinsville. All the Penske cars were in the top 10. Blaney was coming up through the field. Logano got 4th.
Yeah.
But Chase Elliott beat them, held off. He held off Blaney. Really impressed with Chase Elliott, though. Like, he was kind of the class of the field the entire weekend. I would not have predicted that at all, I don't think, because even the other Hendrick guys weren't like that at all.
Yeah, he just put on a phenomenal weekend, and that was another kind of thing to know about the weekend. We saw usual suspects, and this is also kind of another reason why maybe having a preseason event is good, especially with the start of the real season being 2 super speedways and a road course. There's not much to talk about in terms of performance. Yeah. But here we saw, okay, well, Penske's still good at short tracks, and I was listening to other podcasts this morning talk about that. Chase Elliott seems to be back in form. Like, he had a really good performance tonight. Like, while this race didn't mean anything, it meant something, weirdly enough, right? Like, yes, Chase Elliott's not getting anything from this, like, physically, but he proved to himself that I can still do this. I can win races, right? I'm not just I'm not just clicking off top 10s and top 5s. So I think that part of the Clash this weekend is kind of interesting to me as well. Like, we actually kind of learned some things. Kyle Larson looked fast in the LCQ. Like, is he going to lead a bunch of laps again this season and dominate races? And, is that something to expect this season? It seems like it, right? The JGR cars, like, Hamlin was up there, but you didn't really see Bell really fighting for the win at all. You didn't see, obviously, Briscoe's new to the team. Ty Gibbs couldn't even get out of the LCQ. Like, just, there might be some struggles for Gibbs ahead. So we learned some things, which we have something to talk about.
And if the team's assumption, and what a lot of people are talking about, if it's like Martinsville, like that's the penultimate race of the season, another flat track is Phoenix. Like, this could be data that teams could potentially use for the season at large. Like, maybe we're exaggerating a bit, but there is something that teams could use as like a starting point to build off throughout the year. Something that was not a factor at all at Daytona with the Clash.
Or the LA Clash, because I think LA, I don't know, because the way
too short in the corners.
Too tight.
LA.
Like, it was too tight.
Yeah.
Like, Bowman Gray is at least like, I don't know. It's just a more traditional shaped oval. So more things could probably apply to, I guess, Martinsville, for example. Yeah. And they were actually racing. Like, they were actually racing somewhat. So they got to actually learn stuff about their car.
Yeah.
And the tires seem to wear a lot and seem to work good from what we saw. So,
and Chase Elliott, he had to hold off both Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. Let's talk about Hamlin first. Hamlin was making the outside line work, and what from Fox was saying, that's apparently like a big thing that does not happen at Bowman Gray Stadium. Is the outside lane does not work. Like passes there don't really happen. He got side by side with him for a while on the outside, but he ended up passing him on the inside. He took the lead for a little bit before halfway. He led 28 laps. After halfway, he ended up losing the lead back to Elliott around lap 120. Really, that was probably the highlight of the event for me, was this Elliott Hamlin battle throughout the night.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
And once Elliott got back by around, again, lap 120-ish, Elliott didn't look back and ended up winning the race. Strong performance, though, for Denny. He didn't look too good in practice. And this is his debut with a new crew chief.
Chris Gale.
So, yep.
Gale. Is it Gale? Isn't it Gale?
I'm pretty sure it's Gale.
It's spelled gay. Yeah. It's spelled gay. He needs to be on the podcast.
I mean, his name's in the name of our pod. I gotta specify.
He's very important around here, dude. Did you see? I'm sorry. Speaking of being gay, did you see Denny's picture for? I guess. Oh no, it was the Fox, like not the cartoon, but like going back from commercial, like the clips of Denny.
Oh yeah.
Woo! Good Lord, have mercy.
Damn.
He don't look a day over 40. He really don't.
I can't believe he's 44. Like,
if he's 44, gosh. I'm 44. I'm gonna tell you what. Call me Jimmy Johnson. I'm old enough, man. Oh my God, he's fine. He was so fine.
Yeah, he looks great.
He does.
Someone else who looks great both on and off the track is Ryan Blaney. He took a provisional because he got spun, I believe, by Ty Dillon in the heat races.
The Dillon brothers were committing some terrorism Saturday night.
Not my favorite, but a funny part of the night was when Blaney just kind of was taking a Sunday drive in the LCQ because he had the provisional locked up and there was no rule NASCAR put in place. It's like you have to run all the laps. There's no 100% rule, whatever. He just ran some laps in the LCQ and then he pulled off the track and takes the provisional. The provisional, by the way, if you don't know, was the highest points finisher in 2024, not already locked into the main event or advancing through the LCQ. And that's why Larson couldn't just do that. But I was not expecting this. I didn't realize Blaney had this kind of car that night. Like I was really impressed.
Field.
He started last.
Yeah.
Took the provisional. Hard to pass track. Like this is a tiny track.
Right.
Usually, if you want to pass here, you got to like move people out of the way. He did it really cleanly. I mean, he was using his bumper, but he was working his way through. He was working his way through lap traffic. And I think at the end, what happened was his tires were starting to wear out because he was really pushing, trying to catch up to Chase Elliott. He really struggled to get around Kyle Busch. He went too high in one of the corners, and he just couldn't catch back up to Chase Elliott at the end.
Yeah.
Fun to watch, though. Very fun to watch.
It was. It was interesting to see all the Chevy lap traffic and the way they were letting Chase Elliott by. And as soon as Blaney got there, I gotta get back on my racing line. Sorry, I just gotta get back on my racing line. I just lost so much time letting Chase Elliott by for free. I really gotta get back on my racing line here. I just find all that very interesting considering what we talked about after Martinsville. Not that it's really a big deal now or that it's a big deal at all. Cause I mean, you're always going to.
And I don't necessarily have an issue with that kind of thing.
Like Chevy has all these cars in the field, especially in the Clash where apparently it's like all the Chevys qualified for the Clash. It seems like, I don't know. Hey, listen, they didn't really do anything wrong. I just found it very interesting. Considering what we talked about after Martinsville. So, and what apparently is a new status quo going forward, but that's more for the off-season tea episode.
Some other highlights to talk about. Chris Buescher, I want to shout out him. He finished 10th, but he was running like top 5 all night long. It felt like he restarted on the front row a couple times. Strong one for him, especially because RFK, they were awful in Los Angeles. I think the last time Brad made the main event, but other than that, they were wiped out. All 3 cars, including Ryan Preece, made it into this one. big improvement for RFK there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
That's another reason I like the heat race and elimination format of this clash, because you get, we saw big teams like Ty Gibbs and I don't know, someone else like just not make the main event. It's kind of cool, and that was kind of happening to RFK when we went to LA. So just another little note on that. How about SVG?
Yeah,
SVG,
Shane Van Gisbergen.
I was not familiar.
Stayed clean all night long. He finished 9th. So impressed, man.
That beautiful race car.
And it's known that if the road course like pros, when they come over full time, Ambrose, Montoya, Allmendinger
at Martinsville. They'll
come over and figure out Martinsville kind of first. This was similar to Martinsville, as we've said.
It's all to do with the braking, apparently, which makes sense. Like, it mostly any track with like heavy braking, where in stock car racing, it's only going to be these tight short tracks where you have to have a lot of braking control and braking finesse, and braking is how you make your speed at that track. It makes sense. Yeah. Like, it just makes sense. I mean, it's just a simple road course. It's just a simple road course, just 2-turn road course. That's all it is.
So Van Gisbergen's not like super new to this. Like, he's done a couple years now of this, and he's done like a couple one-offs on like dirt on ovals. So it's like
that applies to this.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying, like, this isn't like his very first time on a track short and everything.
Impressive.
It is very impressive.
Especially, like, I don't know, maybe they respect Shane because they've seen his ability, so they didn't just push him out of the way, but they could have. Right?
I think it shows a lot that if they were trying to, that he held his own. He got a top 10.
Yeah. I'm very impressed. I mean,
the fact that he made the event, he made the main event at all, I think is really impressive.
Because we saw SVG, he knows how to give it back. We've seen him versus Austin Hill in the Xfinity series. So I'm so excited to see SVG this year. And I think and again, we have something to talk about, right? With this preseason race. This makes me more excited for his season, because no longer is it, he's just here to win at a road course and get in the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying I expect him to go out and win at Martinsville or anything. I'm just saying, like, he's not just going to ride around in the back at all the ovals, right? That's why this makes me excited for his season. So love that for Shane. Love that paint scheme, except the Red Bull eyeliner. Love that paint. I'm going to get that diecast.
It looks good on the Red Bull car that got revealed, but not
on the it ruins the WeatherTech car. It's kind of ruining the Trackhouse paint scheme. But
I will say I love the Trackhouse like sponsored cars that were on the
branding.
And
their new branding this year.
Yeah, It looks awesome. Very cool.
My god! Like, I'm getting that diecast. It's happening.
I hope they make those as diecasts.
Oh yeah, I hope so. Surely they will. I mean,
I don't know.
You don't gotta get licensing from anybody. It's from yourself. Like, just have Lionel do it.
True. I guess you got to get it from Red Bull if the Red Bull eyeliner is going to be on it.
Jesus Christ, that might actually be a problem. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what goes into that.
Another thing I want to talk about, because it's funny, Ricky Stenhouse took out another guest racer. This time it was Burt Myers.
Terrorism.
The thing that I kind of found interesting was Fox was like, what do you think about this? And they showed him like the worst replay possible. I did see a replay on Blue Sky afterward that was like Myers really came down on Stenhouse and kind of took himself out. Like right off of 4, he just like kept turning and took himself out.
I don't know what was going on with that.
It wasn't Stenhouse's fault, but it was funny in the moment to be like, Stenhouse just keeps wrecking these guys that are guest stars, basically.
Because that's what it looked like at first. I wonder if he thought he was somehow clear and was trying to get down, because he was running up front, like up in the top 8. And I don't know. I don't know how that happens. Not that it really matters, but it was a pretty gnarly hit. Like, when it first happened, I was like, is this guy okay? Because he's not like a normal NASCAR guy. I don't know how old this guy is. Is he all right? He's fine. I was just like, I don't know. Are we complaining about Fox at all this episode? Or are we just pretending it's not a problem? Because I think that moment where they show him the worst replay ever.
What do you think about this? What do you see here? Says Jamie Little. And he's
Nothing.
like, I can't see anything from this angle.
Yeah, he said, from that angle, can't tell much.
So
And
Okay. I'll say this about Fox. I thought this was okay
you're
for
being
their
too nice.
for their current standards. This was okay. Mike Joy felt like he actually liked to be in there for the first time since
agree.
pre-pandemic.
I agree. Yep, that's right.
Since like DW and Larry left the booth, I would say this is the
Yeah.
most excited Mike Joy's been to call a race. Boyer and Harvick have no chemistry, and
Oh my God.
they need to just take Boyer out, put Larry in, and have Boyer do like a Rutledge Wood kind of job.
Yeah. I'm so over Boyer in the booth because
He's not good
like
at this.
Oh, I forgot what happened. It was like 5 seconds after the point was made, and he made the point. Like Kevin said something, and then Clint was like, "Oh yeah, did you?" I don't even remember what it was.
I'll know this might be what you're talking about, but in the qualifying laps, someone jumped to second, and Harvick or Mike mentioned it, and like 5 minutes later, Boyer's like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, look who's up to second!" And it's just like Clint,
Like,
we
was
already
he zoned out?
this.
My
Maybe.
thing is, there's just so much awkward silence with the Fox booth.
They're so quiet. They don't.
I think
no
there's
energy.
2 parts to it. One, it's just like Clint and Kevin don't really know how to carry a conversation, and Mike's getting old, and he's just like, "Well, aha,
aha,
right?"
It's fake laugh, aha.
And then Kevin's like low key or whatever, saying some slang. Did you hear him last night say? Kevin apparently last night said that someone's taking the Diddy line.
What?
No. I saw someone on Twitter here that they said that.
I thought he said Hawk Tua because he was saying hop Tua. He said hop, but he said something. It sounded like he said something else. But
I don't know. But another thing in crowd noise.
Yeah,
because
they
that's
kept
why
hyping it up and not letting us hear it.
Like, think about ESPN when they would go silent on the restarts, where you could
NBC
hear not only the crowd,
yeah.
but like the engines very loud, right? Well, obviously, we're not going to hear the engines like that at a short track, but you know, them Kevin saying, "Oh, you can just hear the crowd right now; they're going wild," or Jeff Gluck tweeting on Twitter, like the crowd's going crazy. We can't even get any of that atmosphere from the broadcast, and it just sucks. It's a missed opportunity.
And NBC does that a lot. They'll play the crowd noise, especially at like Talladega. They'll do that a lot.
Yeah,
that was a huge missing thing because from what a lot of the journalists were saying and what Kevin Harvick kept saying on the broadcast, the crowd's going crazy. They're going wild.
Yeah,
there was a point where I think it was Boyer that was like, "Look at this crowd, you guys. They're going crazy," and they're just like standing there, like the standing emoji.
Yeah.
The TV, they probably don't want to show people like flipping people off and everything.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't hear the energy they're talking about. And I feel like that's something I'm missing from this event because it sounds like it was a crazy event in person.
It sounds like, like
you can't get that on TV.
I don't know if anyone's going to get this. I don't know if anyone's going to get this reference, but like the Junker Queen Overwatch cinematic in that arena where the people are just like crazy.
Yeah.
Or like in any TV show where it's just this crazy rugged arena where there's people yelling and screaming. That's what it sounds like Bowman Gray is supposed to be in terms of like for racing. I would have loved to get some of that vibe. I wouldn't like to be there. Hell no. I don't think I'm welcome there.
I don't think you and I are welcome there.
I don't think we are welcome there. No, and I'm not even trying to assume. I know.
No, I that's not on my list of tracks I want to go to.
No, that's at the bottom. I'm going to the most boring racetrack before I go to Bowman Gray. I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna show up the New Hampshire Motor Speedway before I go to Bowman Gray Stadium.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh girl. Oh my god.
One other highlight to mention: the LCQ. We kind of touched on it earlier. It was a bit more of like the craziness that kind of happened in the event. It's more of what I expected, I think, to happen. What did you think of the LCQ, Zach?
The highlight of the night for me was Josh Berry's throwback Wood Brothers paint scheme, and it
was so good.
All beat and seeing it all beat up.
Yeah,
and seeing him like muscle his way to the main event. That honestly kind of sold me on the event. Honestly, like I want that die cast. I'm kind of a Josh Berry Wood Brothers fan now. Like I loved Harrison Burton. Obviously,
Perfect fit.
I I just love the whole vibe of that car, just the way it looked.
Yeah.
There was tape on it. I don't know if it was fake tape or real tape. I think it was both, like real tape and fake tape, like from the paint scheme.
Yeah.
It was awesome. I'm like, that's NASCAR. That's what this event is. Like, and that's kind of what I realized about Bowman Gray. Like, because you hear about, oh, short tracks are all about beating and banging. You might hear that about Martinsville, but Bowman Gray is the granddaddy of short track beating and banging, for better or worse. And I watched the documentary about Bowman Gray called The Madhouse that Fox Sports produced.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned a lot, and I learned that this place is weird. Right? Like going back to what we just talked about, but I think it's kind of like tying a bow on like this whole, Bowman Gray clash. Like I'm glad NASCAR did this. I really am. Like seriously, it's definitely unique. And I don't think, and I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way, like legitimately, this was a unique race. It's a unique track. And that's what I think the clash has been all about, right? While it might not be, growing the sport like it was LA, it is still just as much of a unique place. Quite literally the opposite side of the spectrum in terms of culture. But it kind of served the same purpose. Take these cars to a place they've never been before or haven't been into in a long time, in this case, and let's all find out together what happens. And we all had fun. I don't know.
Well, with that, let's jump into our Patreon mailbag from some of our Patreon subscribers, because Dylan McCollum just kind of proposed a question or comment that you kind of went into, Zach. And that's Dylan says, personally, I think they should have tried more stadium-like venues in new areas like LA rather than go into Bowman Gray and kept the big city atmosphere. And Anthony Milana said the Clash itself was boring. The LCQ is where all the good stuff was.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes to the overarching question whenever we go to the Clash. Do we really need it? We've kind of touched on that a bit. Should we have stayed in LA? Should we have gone to another bigger city? And there have been reports from both Adam Stern and Jordan Bianchi that Brazil is a potential landing spot for the Clash in 2026. There's a lot of, obviously, influx situation here with the Clash. And Zach, you kind of just touched on it. What are you hoping they do with this race in the next couple of years?
Well, I think it's the most flexible part of the NASCAR schedule. It's at the beginning of the year, so you have time to travel if you need to. And is international presence important for NASCAR? If it is to them, sure, fine. Let's go to Brazil. Why not? It's fun. It's fun. Whatever. Let's just do it. Like, I love how the teams, a lot of the teams could drive to Bowman Gray, right? It's not far away from their shops. That's great. That's fun. I love it. But like maybe just keep that for the All-Star race, right? Like, and like I like how the All-Star race is at, North Wilkesboro, right? If the All-Star race went to Bowman Gray one day, that's fine, right? It's cool. Whatever you want to do. Maybe keep it close there. But if you're gonna have a spot on the schedule where you are gonna go to weird places that are far away, I think the Clash is definitely where you do it. LA proved that you can take it literally everywhere, and it's a sandbox at this point, right?
Yeah.
So if currently the cards say Brazil's next, sure, Brazil's next. Let's do it. We can always, not go back to LA, but you could always go back to whatever city you want if you can get the deal done, right? You could go to, if you want to, like, if you can't get a street race in Denver, or that's IndyCar. That's IndyCar. If you want to go to Denver, go to a football stadium and do whatever you want. Like, have a little football stadium race. You can do whatever. That's what I love about the Clash. That's why I love this new NASCAR where we can do anything. We can try anything we want. Like, it's it puts a lot of confidence.
My opinion is that I loved that the Clash for 3 years in Los Angeles became an opportunity for outreach, trying to reach a brand new audience.
Yes.
Trying to not dismantle the image of NASCAR, but just like say, hey, we're more for everyone, right? Like we're
breaking the stereotype.
Yeah. Like we're a larger thing than what you may think, and trying to break, as you said, break the stereotype. going back to Bowman Gray Stadium for the same race, just kind of in terms of
awkward.
context, is just kind of taking a big step back in terms of what you're trying to do with LA. And Bowman Gray Stadium is for the core race fan. Fox did not promote this at all. Fox promoted LA a lot because the rumors or the reports sounded like it was their idea, right? They wanted a race in their backyard.
And it makes sense. I mean,
so Bowman Gray Stadium to me does not do anything for NASCAR at all. It just makes the core fan base happy. And it's close to the drivers and teams in Charlotte. I believe it's only like an hour away from Charlotte.
Yeah.
I don't mind that they did this, but at the same time, why would you take a step back from what you had in LA? I'm not saying they should have stayed in LA. They could have gone to another city. Maybe they're thinking that Mexico City this year is kind of taking the place of that. That's a whole new area.
That's true.
First time in Mexico. Maybe that's what that's about. But what you mentioned is making this the All-Star race. I think that makes a lot more sense.
I mean, that's kind of what North Wilkesboro kind of is and was.
So another content creator, Jet Krause, made a post on Twitter that said they should make this the All-Star race, take a Phoenix race away, and give that to North Wilkesboro.
I think North Wilkesboro, this is somewhat unrelated. I want North Wilkesboro as like a throwback weekend. Like,
I think that make more sense. Yeah.
And then also like maybe get rid of Spring Darlington, make the Southern 500 more special.
That can go to Rockingham. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a different topic, but yeah, like North Wilkesboro doesn't really need to be the All-Star race. I think it deserves a permanent spot on the schedule as a points race. It's a big enough track for it. Bowman Gray. This is perfect for the All-Star race, right? Like you'd have to rework the heat formats, and I guess you don't really have to, but
no,
because I think the heat racing is what really made this event good, right? Like seeing a open race. Well, I guess the open race would be fine, but I don't know
because the open race would still be a thing.
That's true. So I'm gonna shut up. Yeah, like and it really is a different vibe. And again, it's if it's the week before the Coke 600, for example. Well, teams don't have to do all this traveling, right? They can save a lot of money in that month, right? Like minimal traveling. So I think that would work very, very well. And again, just leave the Clash open. Because also, and we talked about this last night, it was very awkward to go to Bowman Gray after being at LA, after doing all this growth of reaching out in the sport, especially in the current times where everything feels like it's regressing. If you know what I mean. It just felt very awkward.
The broadcast being like, we're going back to our roots. In the context of the current political climate, feels very awkward.
It made
I'm not
me
saying it was intentional.
Yeah, I know it wasn't intentional, but it made me uncomfortable. Yeah. As a gay man, it just made me uncomfortable.
Just bad timing.
And it's why I stayed my ass home last night.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if anyone else was having those feelings. Let us know if you were. I'm not trying to be sensitive or anything. I'm just.
Let us know.
I have my eyes open and my ears open.
So another note you mentioned, Zach, while prepping the show, is that the All-Star race is an SMI thing, while the NASCAR used to be ISC is a Clash. And sometimes I wonder if we need to eliminate one or the other. And I guess neither company wants to lose their exhibition race. So that's another thing to just kind of be aware of when suggesting these kinds of things, because SMI does not own Bowman Gray Stadium. NASCAR owns Bowman Gray Stadium. They just bought that recently. Yeah. So things like that are just kind of make the fundamentals a little difficult.
Yeah, as long as they keep the two different events, two different ideas for the most part, that'd be fine for me.
Yeah. And then we had one other question or comment in the Patreon mailbag from Tim Mikulski. He wants to know if we checked out the Max in-car camera stream that's new for this year on HBO Max. They have in-car cameras of every single driver on there, which is pretty cool. Tim said that Fox coverage was killing him, so he went to Blaney's in-car camera for the last 50 laps, and he felt frustrated watching him try and get Chase. I did not check this out, but I saw a lot of people on social media check it out.
I forgot about it.
It's pretty really cool. I am glad, though, that this deal doesn't mean that Fox and NBC cannot use them. I was concerned about that when this was announced, but Fox was still doing in-car cameras.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That would be something fun to put up on my screen. The only issue I would have with it is like if it's not synced up with the race broadcast, right? Because I'm always going to have the race broadcast up. I don't care how bad Fox is. I'm always going to have it up just because I need like if something happens and I'm not paying attention to Twitter, I need someone to shout it out, right?
Yeah.
I bet watching Blaney those last 50 laps was probably a lot of fun. Because again, that's why I love onboard cameras, because it really does kind of put you in that driver's seat, like, and puts them in the driver's shoes. So I think that's cool. I'd be interested to see. I'd be interested to try it out. I don't know when, but that's cool. I'm glad it's there. When is our practices? Practices are on Prime, right?
So the first half of the season, practice and qualifying, excluding the Daytona 500, will be on Amazon Prime, and then the second half of the season, practice qualifying, is on HBO Max. Or I guess it's just Max now.
And that's the only thing that's on Max, right? Just practice and qualifying at the last half of the year.
They own the same company as TNT, so
okay,
the races will be streamed on there for TNT races.
So the 5 TNT races, or is it the 10? Because it's just TNT, not Prime.
Yeah.
What?
It's confusing. They're using the same
confusing.
They're using the same TV booth.
Okay.
But I could be explaining this a little wrong, but Amazon has those first 6.
I just didn't do my research.
And then TNT/Max have the second 6, but they'll have the second half of the season practice qualifying.
Whatever that means. All right. Whatever that means. Okay.
Yeah. It's a little confusing.
That's probably the big negative about this new TV package. Just like, where the hell am I going to watch whatever? All these apps. Oh,
so if you want us to read your comment or like a hot take you got, want us to react to it, patreon.com/gayracingpod. Thank you, Tim, Anthony, and Dylan for your
We need more people like
comments
Anthony. We need more people like Anthony. The Clash was boring. I need y'all to come on and say, this race sucked. I'm here for the negativity.
And see, I don't know if I agree with it, but like, hell yeah, speak your truth. Tell us what you think.
I think the main event was definitely, like, compared to everything else, like with the heats and stuff, it's definitely like a little boring, which I get why. Why would you wreck someone in the main?
Ty Gibbs was kind of funny in the just all around. Ty Gibbs, he went airborne at one point, trying to get payback on Justin Haley.
That was
fun.
Crazy.
And is that it? Because we're not making our Daytona 500 picks until next week.
I already know who I'm picking. I'm ready.
Well, you're going to have to wait a week. Next week's episode, we're going to be talking about the predictions we got for NASCAR. We're going to talk about all the off-season tea and everything. We're going to have a special guest join us. I think you guys will like them. I guess with that, pretty short episode. Short and sweet, right?
Yeah, not like the LC. This was shorter than the LCQ. Good Lord. that really was too long. That's another thing. I think the Clash could have been 150 laps main event, not 200.
Yeah.
Low-key.
That is one complaint I will add.
And the start time was a little bit too late for me.
I was getting sleepy. Like, I got a job. I had to be work at 8 a.m. this morning. Like,
what about
we didn't need to keep going.
Like, do those people not have work, by the way? The people at the track? Like, I just never get that. Like, I'm not taking off work to go to NASCAR. Well, maybe I will. I don't know. Like, the only reason I went to Richmond Sunday night last year is because I had Easter Monday off. Like,
yeah.
And then I didn't go to the fall race because, like, why am I going to use up my leave to go to a NASCAR race? Now, my job's also different, though, because I have to do more work to take off work. So it's a little bit different for me. So maybe that's why that's my opinion. And I also just love watching stuff on TV. Like, it's just, I get to pee when I want. I'm comfortable. I sit in that chair right there. It's great. It's great. I get to sit in my cute little office. I just sit in my mic. I just sit in my cute little office on my cute little lights. So
yeah. Very cute office. Yeah. So in conclusion, we have a kind comment. This is from our last episode last year from DM Punk 6085. He only discovered the show in 2024, and it's my favorite NASCAR podcast by far, in all caps, and one of the best racing chat shows around.
Wow.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
That is really nice. Thank you so much.
If you want us to read your comment, you can do so on the YouTube comments. 5-star Apple review, we'll read those too.
Yeah. How are we doing
And
in
you
YouTube subs?
We're getting up there. We gained around, I think, nearly 10 this past week. So if we keep that up, we'll be getting close to 1,000. If we get to
You think-
1,000, guys, we can make money off of this.
I think we can get to 1,000 this year. I don't know. That's a big, like, we have to do a lot of growing, but like I don't know if we just need like a surge, because if we get a surge and it just goes up, like that's all.
If you know someone who is LGBTQ plus and likes racing, send them our way. We'll
Unless
keep them
it's
entertained.
Formula One.
Yeah, sorry, we don't. Formula who? I don't know who that is.
Actually, if Lewis v Max comes back, I promise you right now, if Lewis versus Max comes back, we will be talking about F1 every single day. I will be waking my ass up at 8 a.m. to watch that damn Qatar Airways Grand Prix sponsored by homophobia. I will be watching that stuff at 8 a.m. I will be there. I will be there. So that is my one condition. I will be back.
And like I said earlier, if you want to help us out on our mailbag, or if you want to catch our bonus videos first, you can do our patreon.com/gayracingpod. Thank you to everyone who subscribes, even over the off season. We really appreciate you. You can also rate us 5 stars on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube. Yeah, you're helping us upgrade.
Yeah, we got
socials. Yeah, it's getting dark here. It's cloudy outside. It's getting.
Do you
dark.
have your lamps on? You need your lamps on.
No, I don't have them on right now.
Girl, turn your lamps on next week, because you look like I don't know what you look like right now. You look like something. You look like I don't know. You look like you're on Omega or something.
No, man, not Omega.
I don't even know what I was trying to say. Nothing inappropriate. I was just like,
So you can follow us on Blue Sky, TikTok, Instagram at Gay Racing Pod. We're also on Twitter, but we're trying to get away from that. Please join Blue Sky at Gay Racing Pod. At our social, Zach and I are at Dreamy Zach Racing and at Newgaden, again, predominantly on Blue Sky.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we'll be back next week to get ready for the Daytona 500, make our predictions for the season. Gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah. So we'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for subscribing. Stay safe. For real, stay safe. Enjoy the Super Bowl this weekend. Go Chiefs, I guess.
Yeah, go Taylor Swift.
Go Taylor Swift. Go Chiefs. Alex actually lives in Kansas City, so,
Yeah.
I guess we're rooting for the Chiefs 3 in a row. Let's go. Yeah. Woo. All right, bye.
All right, bye.